Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. It is really exciting and good to see you all today. Welcome to Columbia, and give each other a round of applause for coming to SIPA and being accepted to SIPA. So, round of applause. So, we're going to have a conversation today. We're going to talk to three awesome, amazing, very impactful student leaders that we have here today. Each of them will have an opportunity to talk to you about their SIPA experience. And then at the conclusion of our discussion, you all will have an opportunity to participate in a Q&A. And the cool thing is, the three of these individuals, you'll find their stories are so impactful, and they have really made an amazing mark with their time here at SIPA. So without further ado, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, and my role here at SIPA. So again, my name is Michael Littlejohn. I am the Assistant Dean for Student Life. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I was a political science and international relations major in undergrad. So I recognize I probably have a lot in common with many of you in the audience. I have had the privilege and honor to work in higher education since 2008. And I did the math this morning, and it will be 17 years in August. Thank you. And with that, with my background, it consisted of student housing, student affairs, and student life. I will be entering my second year at SIPA in September. And to tell you a little bit about my role, I wear a lot of different hats here at SIPA, and I'll just list off some so that you'll be familiar about. One is I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Liaison for Students. I also oversee our student life and student organizations. And I also oversee our OSA mini grant programs, just to name a few. So without further ado, for the most important individuals on this stage that are here today, I'm gonna start through introductions. So first, I'll start with Ronaldo, and I ask that you introduce yourself, tell us about your degree program, your graduation year, concentration, and your hometown, and your campus involvement here at SIPA. Okay. Pass it to Ronaldo.
Hi, everyone. Before I present myself, I want to use this opportunity to thank Michael. Of course, you don't know him as much as we do, but as the many functions he has, I think he's an angel. He's the person you come and he'll be like, I'm in trouble, and he's gonna help you. And it's been like so many episodes. It was so helpful. So I wanted to thank you,
thank you, Ronaldo.
Thank
Appreciate
you for your
that.
work. So I'm Ronaldo, and you could guess my country by my name. I'm from Brazil, and I'm second year MPA in development practice. I also was former president of LASA, which is the Latin American Caribbean Student Association. And yeah, I'm finishing in May, so it's kind of like this nerve-wracking moment.
Absolutely. And then Ronaldo, can you tell the audience a little bit about your leadership experience, your campus involvement, which you have a lot of that, right?
Yeah. I think I got involved with this student organizations as a way to tell myself I could do it. So when I came here, it was first time in US, so I needed to adapt. And it was first time on a lot of stuff. I got in trouble at the beginning with housing and a lot of different things. I was living in different, with friends and houses, and I was like, oh my God, I wanted to do something that I can choose. So I ran for LASA at the time to be president. And then I became the first Brazilian there, and I was like, finally I can do something I'm really choosing to do, and not just letting life with assignments and a lot of issues, because you're gonna, especially if you're international, it's such a different place. And even if you're in trouble, you still can do something you really like. So that was how I got engaged.
Awesome. Thank you, Ronaldo. And then I'm gonna pass over the same over to Sadie. Sadie, introduce yourself. Also, tell us your program, your degree program, your hometown, and your campus involvements as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Sadie. I'm from Tacoma, Washington. I'm doing a Master's of International Affairs with a concentration in Human Rights and Humanitarian Policy, which is no longer, I think, a concentration for you guys, but it's a pretty good one for me. But no, you guys have fantastic concentrations to choose from. And a specialization in technology, media, and communications. And my campus leadership includes, I was president of the Migration Working Group. I was also briefly president of the United Nations Association. And I also served as a member on the Diversity, Equity, and Community Engagement Board. Yeah, or committee, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sadie. And I'll pass it over to Xavier, same intro as well.
So hello everyone, can you hear me? Yes. Hey, congratulations to you all. This is an amazing feat. You should be very, very proud of yourself. I'm Xavier Ibrahim. I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. Also grew up in Connecticut and home was Maryland. And I have roots in Ghana. Both my mom and father are from Ghana. So it was great to have representation at Columbia University because there's not many of us. I'm pursuing my Master's of Public Administration with a concentration in Economic and Political Development. And the region of focus is Africa. And the issue with that is at SEPA, there's not really a lot of African courses, or I haven't even had an African professor. So that's a little challenge that, I have been battling with being at Columbia University. But other than that, I make the best out of it. And it's so good to speak with you all today.
Awesome. And give them all a round of applause, please. All right, panel. So for our very first question, and I will repeat the question, so it's a little long as I get to each of you. So our very first question, what were you doing prior to coming to SEPA? Did any of you come in with a more non-traditional background? And what are the pros and cons with a unique perspective into this program? All right. So I will start with Ronaldo.
So I always guided by big problems. So I think the first big problem I had was my school. I was raised in the richest state in Brazil, which is Sao Paulo, but I was very lucky to be born in the poorest city. So I studied in a public school, and I was just another average student. I didn't know anything. I wasn't learning. I got this one teacher, and he helped me throughout my education. And I had this thing I don't want more students to be in that condition anymore. So that was my guiding principle, and I worked in this family office foundation in Brazil called Lemon Foundation for 5 years, trying to tackle educational problems. And I was that person of hey, there are a lot of stuff that we have been done, but I wanted to be the person to be doing innovation. So talk to the board and be we need more money for this and try something different. And I had this dream of okay, I know about education, but the more I knew about education, I saw that the problem was outside. So the kid was there in school, but he wasn't learning because he was hungry. So there was a food security problem.
That's right.
Or he was taking 2 hours to get to the school. So transportation problem. So a lot of the other problems that actually interfere in learning rates was outside. So it's I need to know about the rest. So coming to SEPA was I need to build this knowledge. So I'll be in a position to look at things in a broader level so I can tackle in an integrated approach.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Ronaldo. So it sounds like you were already exercising your solution-based policy-making skills at home. So you got to start on that prior to even now coming here.
Yeah.
So same question for you, Sadie, and I'll repeat it. What were you doing prior to SEPA? Did you come in with a more non-traditional background? And what would you say were the pros and cons with your perspective into the program?
Yeah, so I came to SEPA basically straight out of undergrad. I had 1 year in between before I came here. And that, for me, I think has been really beneficial because a lot of the people at SEPA do have professional experience. And so that's given me the opportunity to have great networking opportunities and just talk with people about the experiences that they've had and giving me feedback on what has worked for them, what organizations they loved, what organizations drove them crazy. And it's been really wonderful to just learn from more experienced people as someone who was a bit younger and a bit less experienced, but I always knew that I wanted to do a master's degree. I always knew that I wanted to study human rights. And so when I graduated from undergrad, I was living in New York and I thought, it's right here, why not? It just felt so compelling at the time. So yeah, it's been really wonderful to learn from my peers. And I hope my peers have also learned from me too.
Absolutely. And I'm certain they have. And as a staff member who has worked with you as well, I could say I myself have learned some things as well. And so it's a wraparound. And I'll pass it over to Xavier. Same question. You want me?
Can you repeat it one time?
I sure will.
There's like 2 questions, right?
Yes. So the question is, what were you doing prior to coming to SEPA?
Okay.
And did you come in with a more traditional background? And what would you say were the pros and cons in terms of your perspective into your program?
Okay. So I didn't come through a traditional kind of trajectory. I came straight from undergrad. I was at American University in DC, and I got my bachelor's in international affairs. And I was very fortunate to get this fellowship program called the Donald M. Payne Graduate Fellowship with USAID. USAID right now with the Trump administration, no more. I don't even know, to be honest, I don't even know what's going on. But basically, I was very fortunate to get that funding from that fellowship program, as well as Columbia Scholarship to come to Columbia University SEPA. Since I came straight out of undergrad, I only had like internship experience and like short-term study abroad travel that was like very helpful for me getting into the program. And my first week, have you ever felt like imposter syndrome coming into a space that, sometimes you feel like you're not ready for, maybe you just don't belong in, or you don't see that many people who look like you. You kind of felt like that for the first week. But I think what thing that changed my experience was literally that first week during orientation. There was the second years who kind of took me in and who kind of like, listen, you deserve to be in these spaces. This school is what you make of it, and the experiences is what you make of it. So that was basically my experience. And with that, I kind of used maybe my lack of work experience to my advantage. I kind of sought more mentorships. Dean Littlejohn was very helpful in like kind of my path and like connecting me with people. And I think one of the biggest things is what I valued during my experience at Columbia University is my relationships, even more than education. I think that has took me further away than a lot of people and a lot of peers, because at the end of the day, after you get this graduate program and get this degree, those friends that you make along the way, those genuine friendships and being a true person is going to take you so much further. So I think for the pros and cons, pros, I think being in New York City is number one. The diversity of New York City and having access to a lot of people who always come to our university, as well as some professors if you can seek out. If they're not in SEPA, you definitely have access to the other schools, which I've been able to be very active with, especially with the organizations I've been a part of. I've been a part of the SEPA Black Student Union and also the SEPA Pan-African Network. And for the SEPA Pan-African Network, every year we do like a Columbia Africa conference, where it's a student-led conference with the Columbia Business School, Law School, Engineering School, as well as SEPA and the Public Health School. And we bring in like professionals and practitioners from all over Africa doing investing and all type of things in all different industries, which I think is helpful. So I think the best is use your time here wisely and make sure you're connecting with people not within your school and other schools as well. With the cons, I already mentioned before with my specialization in my program, issues with that, the Africa specialization on the courses and professors who actually worked in Africa or who are African. Number two is this, I know what you've been seeing lately on the news at Columbia University. It's a whole university thing, but that has also been an issue as well. And I have like very much peers who've been affected by that. So those have been the cons, but at the end of the day is what you make of it. And I think that what can be grounded is the friendships I have made throughout the process and the mentors that actually like, kind of like guided me throughout the way. So that's been my pros and cons.
Absolutely. Thank you, panel. And so one thing I want to highlight that Xavier mentioned, and as you heard from all of Sadie as well and Ronaldo, they all are student officers as well. So they all have led and been part of executive boards of their respective student organizations. So quick plug, this today from 4 to 6, we will be having our expo on the 15th floor in the IA building, and you'll have the opportunity to meet some of our student organizations as well as the student officers. So that'll give you a sneak peek and give you a little more insight on the groups that these wonderful individuals are talking about as well. So I'm gonna transition to the next question. For my panel, what would you say was the defining factor for you coming to grad school, deciding to make that journey, and why SIPA? And I'll start with Ronaldo, of course.
Yeah. I think it started with a dream. When I was in high school, I wanted to study abroad, but I didn't know English. So there was this little thing, and I was like, okay, I gotta learn English first and start building up this. And it took me 11 years to get here. So sometimes I know some people will be like, I'm not happy with my job, or I want to do something, I want to like a gap in my career, and etc. For me, it was different because I had this for such a long time, and I was like, and then I tried first year, and I couldn't get TOEFL. I didn't get the score, and I was like, oh my God! After 11 years, I couldn't get TOEFL, and then I was ready to give up, and I saw like a YouTube video, and someone was like applying in doing like a mock interview. I messaged that guy, and he was like, let's talk. And he was an executive of like a company in Brazil, and he's like, I'm sponsoring you, I'm gonna pay your tests again.
Wow.
And I was
That's
like, oh, you're crazy. Then I did 4 times. I did 2 IELTS, 2 TOEFLs, and 3 GREs. And I got good scores finally. And it was like, that guy was crazy. And I was like, anyway. But I could finally apply. I applied to a couple of schools. Then I got Columbia, I got Chicago, and then it started the real game. And I got like a partial scholarship, and kind of both of them. And I was like, hey, Chicago, I got to Columbia, want to help me? And then I did the same to Columbia, and then it started the
Bidding war.
yeah, I think you're living this right now, like begging for scholarships, and but I can get to this later. But all that to say, like, this is like a long dream that I started back in the days, and being here is like living the dream and the eyes open. So people always ask, why you always sit in the front in class? That's why, because I've been waiting for 11 years. Like, true.
Awesome.
It's like there's no. So if you knew that someone's waiting this for 11 years, you'd be sitting in the front too.
Right, that's right.
So yeah, now you know. People who asks, that's my answer.
Right. Thank you, Ronaldo. And you mentioned this was a dream, right? And I'll challenge you to say your dreams have come true. And so congratulations to you for not giving up. Kudos to you for persevering and pushing through. That's going to serve you well in your career.
Thank you.
So, good job. And then I'll pass it over. Thank you. Thank you, Eddie. Same question for Sadie. Again, what would you say was your defining factor for deciding to go to grad school, and why SIPA?
Yeah. Similar to Ronaldo, coming to Columbia was a dream I had ever since I was a kid, ever since I was very, very young. And it became kind of clear in high school that I was not going to get in here for undergrad, and that was okay. I had made my peace with that. But I did my undergrad, and then I moved to New York kind of spur of the moment, and I didn't quite know what I was going to do, but I had majored in global studies in undergrad, and I really cared about refugees and migrants. And so I started, when I moved to New York City, I started interning for the International Rescue Committee. And I was doing some work in economic empowerment, and I was working with people, but I was totally bogged down by the bureaucracy of the organization. And I felt like I just was not making an impact at all. And these issues really troubled me. I was like, there's a refugee crisis, there's a major problem here, and I want to solve it. And so I started thinking policy. Okay, like let's just go to the top and start changing things from the top down, and it will kind of trickle down to help real people. And I was living in New York City, and I came and I visited Columbia campus, and immediately I just fell in love. I saw the Low Library, I saw the beautiful buildings, and I saw that amidst all the chaos of New York City was this oasis. I mean, Columbia, I describe it to people as like a sculpture garden. The way that there's so much beautiful art and the lawns and just the environment is so conducive to curiosity and learning and solving problems. And so the minute I came to the campus, I was in love and I knew. I also loved that Columbia was so close to the UN and all of the human rights NGOs that I really cared about. And so I felt like if I wanted to work with the UN, if I wanted to work for Amnesty or Human Rights Watch, there would be resources for me here. I looked at the faculty list, and the faculty here are just amazing. And I'm sure you have an idea of what professors you want to learn under, and you can totally find those professors, but you'll be surprised at the professors you haven't heard of too, the ones that aren't necessarily on the top of the website, not the Ian Bremers, but like, the ones that are really doing the work that matters. And I wanted to do that. And so it was, I only applied to SIPA. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that to people, but I was kind of like, go big or go home. This is what I want. And I kind of similar to Ronaldo, I took the GRE like 3 times, and I have this vivid memory of taking the GRE for the second time in Times Square, which I also would not recommend. And it was like, why is the testing center there? I don't know. But they were doing construction, and it was super noisy, and I couldn't focus, and I was so stressed. And you get the score immediately when you take it, and I didn't get the score I wanted, and I just sobbed in the middle of Times Square, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get in, and my dreams are dead. And my partner at the time was like, just take it one more time, just take it one more time. And I was like, you're crazy, but I did, and then I did it, and I actually wrote my admissions essay to SIPA talking about the campus and the way it made me feel, and how I felt like it would inspire me to become the policymaker that could solve the problems that have been troubling me for a long time. So that's why SIPA for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadie. And as you can see, everyone has a very unique journey. We probably can go around the room and it'd probably be the most impactful, inspiring, motivational stories. Each person here has taken a different role, but it has all led them to SIPA. Same question for Xavier. So what kind of was the deciding factor for you to go to grad school, and why SIPA?
Okay, so I mentioned the fellowship program I was a part of. So after I applied to 4 different schools. 3 were in DC, and only one in New York was Columbia University. I think the biggest thing was the funding, but also being in New York City, and then also discovered that there's a capstone that we all do, and mostly in our second year, that we get to do either an international travel trip with a client, or you can stay domestic. And I really wanted to be able to travel for my graduate experience. And I recently just came back from Uganda, which was awesome. I think we're going to talk about that later, but that was another factor. There's an International Fellows Program. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that, but I'm currently in that right now. And it's taught by Ambassador Newland. And I think that's a great course to take. It's a 1-year seminar. You have classes from the fall semester and the spring semester. The first semester you go to the UN, and then the second semester, which I'm going to DC later this week. And they're going to connect with a bunch of people, have a lot of conversations with the current administration or people who were in previous administrations, and also different sectors. And then there's another program that kind of drew me to SIPA was the Craft Global Center. And I was very fortunate that I had a paid trip to Tunis, Tunisia. And I got to tour around the whole country with a few other people from around the different Columbia schools. So I think that, and then also the international experience of SIPA, that really drew me to Columbia SIPA. So I think that's been things that have really enriched my experience and that have brought me here. So it's been very rewarding, I believe. So
Absolutely. Thank you, Xavier. So transitioning a bit about, giving you all some tips and some insights about the classroom, professors, and courses. And so I will start with Sadie this time. Sorry, Sadie, I know you're a mid-port, but I'm gonna switch it up a bit. So in terms of academics, what would you say is one professor or course that you found interesting, and how did it impact your experience at SIPA?
Totally. So you'll find that a lot of the MIA and PA core is very theoretical. And theory is wonderful and great, and we all need it. But I have had so much fun post-core theory classes taking courses with adjunct professors that are in the field. And what I think one of SIPA's greatest strengths is all of the adjunct professors. We're in New York City, so there's so many working professionals that come and they teach like one course while they work a full-time job. So, I mean, all of the courses I've had with adjunct professors have been absolutely amazing. And what's wonderful is that they just give you very practical experience. They tell you what you actually need to be in the field, what things are important, what things you don't have to worry about. And so one class that I have just absolutely loved was International Human Rights Law with Betsy Apple. She is the founder of an organization called CLIDEF, where she's been a human rights lawyer for many, many years, but now she's got her own NGO where she defends climate activists, and she's trying to work to pioneer like refugee law to get special status for people that are defending climate or that are advocating for climate change in countries that have, you know, a hostile environment to that kind of advocacy. And she, I mean, not only is she just the most wonderful person, individual, but she gave us so much practical knowledge about how to use human rights law, which a lot of people are kind of losing faith in. You know, they think, what's the point of these laws if countries can just go and break them with impunity? But she really instilled in all of us the importance of norms, the importance of human rights law, and how you can actually use it to make real change. So that was a really impactful course for me, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend it to any of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadie. And then I'll pass it over to Ronaldo. And for this question, again, so in terms of academics, what is one course or professor or something that you found interesting that really impacted your experience at SIPA?
So I'm doing the MBA in development practice. So our core courses, they're very into practice already. But of course, we share some of the other core courses like econ, quantitative analysis, which is also theoretical. It wasn't just about the class, but the intention I put in the class. So you can have an amazing class, but you're not interested. Or you can have like okay class, but you put so much of your effort that you make it worth it. And I'm gonna give you some examples. One thing that I'm doing and I did in previous semester is like every class I'm gonna find a client. Not necessarily in terms of like a real client, but I'm gonna reach out to people. I'm gonna talk to them, listen their challenges so I can bring to class and do my assignments addressing them. It's a way so you can connect with people and like.
It's a good approach.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like you finish your class and you have a new contact and etc. You reach out to your directors and be like, and you'll be honest, like it's just an assignment. It's my midterm, but I want to do it for you. I'm gonna do it to solve your problem. And I did this for so many classes. So for example, we have a class called Development Practice Lab, and it was like a fictional program. But I went to an event and I met part of the Ghana's government staff, like some agencies, and I talked to them and they were like, oh, that would be useful if we had like a program for training in cocoa processing. I was like, amazing, I'm gonna do that for you in my class. So I did all my assignment, and then my final step, I would send to them, they would give me feedback, I would go back and forth, and then my final assignment I sent to the government. And in a minute, of course you set the expectation, but I think this is a tip for everyone. Like, DP Lab per se, it could be just another assignment with a fictional organization and nothing to do, but I made it in a way that would be useful for me, it was useful for someone else, and it could do this for almost every class.
Thank you, Ronaldo. I think that was a very good tip. And I think it also is an applicable tip that can be utilized by many of you here. And so same question for Xavier. So regarding academics, a course or professor that really impacted you during your time here at SIPA?
Okay, so I think the course is the U.S. World and World Politics, and that course is the course of the International Fellows Program. And the reason why this is my favorite course and really one that has like made my SIPA experience like super cool is the people in the class are from different schools all over the Columbia University. law school, business school, public health school as well. And it's really interesting in class when we have discussions on a topic where there's people from different disciplines and also like career tracks looking at a problem in a totally different way than how you look at it. And I think that has been a very like enriching experience, and I'm learning so much. And then also having a professor who has like over 20 plus years in experience with people from all around the world, and she's like very well known to actually tell you like how it is in the situation room, and her still having connections with those people and kind of giving you like a way to think about a certain problem and how to address it properly. I think that has been very impactful. And also office hours. One thing SIPA affords you is like office hours with your professor. And even if it's not your professor, you can still reach out to other professors who are, not your professors at that one time and you've taken that class. So really kind of pick their brain about maybe their career or the kind of research that they're doing. And when you're doing that, you can even have possibilities of even like being a research assistant, being a program assistant with the class, or even a TA. So I think that's been probably the most enriching kind of class and program. And I highly advise that people apply to it when it comes. And also provides a stipend as well, which is pretty cool. So,
Thank you, Xavier. And this transitioned us very well into our next question, where we regarding internships. So, can you all share? I'll start with Ronaldo. So the question is, can you share your experience if you have had an internship, and do you have any tips for the audience about acquiring an internship?
Yeah, so I did have an internship. We just call it summer placement. It was this time that you work for an organization during summer. And the application process is pretty similar to a job. Like you apply and then you have a bunch of interviews and etc. My tip was like, if I need to prepare too much for an interview, I'm probably not a fit for that job. So I was just like, when I was having interviews, I had the sense it was just a conversation. And at the end, I ended up working for an organization called Imago, which was what I wanted to get an organization who could like talk cross topics and different regions of the world. So I went to DC, I looked at different projects, and it was pretty interesting to have this vision on different sectors, so business, education, on consulting, but also you need to set expectations because you're there for 3 months and you're not gonna solve the whole world. But you're also building like connections and skills. And in my case, I was doing a lot of research, and I was like, maybe I don't wanna do research for the rest of my career. I like research, but I like more like getting things done, and it was a good lesson for me.
Thank you, Ronaldo. And then I'll pose the same question to Sadie. Can you share your experience with being in an internship and any tips about acquiring an internship?
Yeah, so throughout my course at SIPA, I also became very interested in art. And I was already studying human rights and humanitarianism, and so I wanted to investigate the relationship or the kind of intersection between art and human rights. And so I ended up finding an internship at a gallery in Tribeca, where I still work now, where I tried to curate exhibitions that helped bridge the gap between artists who want to have an impact on human rights and audiences who want to have an impact on human rights. I identified that there was a bit of a gap between messages that artists were trying to send and actual action items that viewers could take. And so I curated a few exhibitions around that. And just some tips and tricks for finding internships. Use your professors. Your professors are very well connected. They want to help you. They like you. They know you. They'll vouch for you. So I would just be a little shameless and just tell your profs, like, I would love to intern for you or your best friend or your mom, and they will.
Absolutely.
They will try.
She's not kidding.
She's correct.
I'm so serious. Yeah.
Thank you, Sadie. And we've heard professors, right? You want to make those connections with your professors. And I'll take it even a step further, your staff as well. So we have amazing staff as well throughout SIPA that are extremely resourceful as well. So you want to make those connections. And I'll pass it over to Xavier again. Same question, your internship experience, as well as any tips for the audience in acquiring an internship.
So my internship experience was like much different because the way I acquired my internship was through my fellowship. So this past summertime, I was in the Philippines, based in the Philippines and also Fiji. I got a chance to, go to Sydney, Australia, Indonesia, as well as Singapore. But some tips I would highly suggest, of course, the professor's connection. And SEPA, throughout the semester, they host events, whether it's the student organizations or the Career Center, and they bring professionals from all different industries and backgrounds. And they usually do it around like noon to 1 p.m. or 2, or even after hours. And I highly suggest you attend those events. Like even skip a class or leave class early to go, because it's very helpful to really connect with the professionals and they're here for y'all, and they're like looking for SEPA students. And I highly suggest wait to the end of the conversation, because you're just going to come up, like, for example, let's say this was like a networking event and we're doing a panel and I was professional. After the event ends, you just come right up to me and just come speak and like get the business cards. I think that's the best time I have made connections with people.
Good advice, good advice.
And it has been very helpful. So like you don't have to stay for the whole conversation, but just come at the end. Come at the end and say, hey, I've been listening to you. You said something really awesome, and I would love to connect with you, pick your brain about certain things. That has been helpful. Do that at every event you go to.
He's imparting some good knowledge, folks. Listen.
Yeah, that, of course, connecting with professors, and the Career Center is your buddy. I'm in there every day. They know my face. They know my name.
Yeah.
They have open office hours and continue to keep going there. They have platforms, but they here to serve you. You pay tuition to come here, so utilize every single resource that you can, and that's very helpful. And the Career Center is very helpful, and they're here to literally give you alums to reach out to. And with the Columbia name, you can use that to reach out to anybody, no matter what field of industry. It goes a long way, trust me.
Thank you, Xavier. Let's give our panel a round of applause, please. All right, to you all, our co-hosts, AKA our audience. So we're going to transition now to Q&A. So I hope you all have some really good questions for our panel. They all have very diverse experiences. And so what better folks to get this information from than this panel of student leaders and SEPA students. All right, so first question. Yes. Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
And what is your name?
My name is Hakeem Michael. I really resonated with the advice that Xavier imparted. Though we come in with our concentration in mind, how did you manage to sort of stick to that concentration, even though there's so many options in the forms of internships? How do you stay concentrated on one thing? I feel like there's so many options. How do you pursue one without being distracted?
Great question. Thank you, Hakeem Michael. Xavier?
I think for me was every day I thought about what I wanted to get out of my experience. Even for me, I did the economic political development concentration, and looking back now, I probably would have changed it. But for me, I just throughout the whole time at a graduate school experience, I was like, I'm always switching what I wanted. But for me, it was like pretty broad enough where I can switch, and you have at least a whole year before you can you can switch to concentration. But I think the biggest thing was like outside of maybe what my concentration can offer me, what other things can I get from other concentrations, other professors, and like other programs at SEPA, which is kind of flexible. That's why I like our program, whether it's the MIA or MPA. It's pretty flexible, and even if you want to take other classes and other stuff, I think the biggest thing is go to the Office of Student Affairs and speak with the academic deans, and they're very helpful, and they're here to help you out and kind of just figure out every day. You can leave, even you can come every single day. There's office hours every single day. Just kind of figure out like, what do I want for myself, especially because you're here for just such a short time. You want to get the most out of it, whether it's the academic experience and then also like setting up a career or a job right at the SEPA. So just continue asking those questions and seeking up help from the Career Center and Office of Student Affairs, and that will guide you throughout the way. So I think that's been the most helpful thing for me.
Thank you for that, Xavier. Yes, and yes. Thank you.
Hi, thank you guys so much for doing this. I have a sort of unique question. I'm a little bit further along in my professional career than some of the other wonderful, amazing people here. And I'm also
Congratulations.
married.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Do you, as students, are there any student organizations that help support working parents? Are there graduate students that are pregnant or planning to get pregnant? I'm just wondering if this is even possible.
Absolutely. And what's your name?
Jordan.
Jordan, nice to meet you. Yes, so we do have a group of parents that are at SEPA that we provide resources with. And we also do different outings. So we call them SEPA parents.
Very clever.
So creative, and so we do different programming with that group. We have one of our OSA deans, Dean Nguyen. She is our wellness liaison, and she really works very closely with that group of students, as she's a parent as well, and she really likes to embark on those resources for students, because we recognize being a student isn't easy. And being a parent and a student and so many other things and wearing those hats. So we really, really want to support our parents when they're here as well. So absolutely, we have those resources for you as well. And then we're open to any ideas of growing that out. So hope to see you in the fall, and we'd love to hear some of those ideas.
And also I would say to make sure you just communicate with professors. Sometimes the semester gets really hard, especially with the first semester when you're doing like micro and quant, and there's a lot of recitations, a lot of group work. They constantly have you just doing work all the time, and you kind of get like really kind of like frustrated or stressed out. So just communicate with professors, let them know you not get to work on time. It's just be honest with them. And I use excuses all the time. And I will literally get the extension, and you should not feel bad about it, and you will still get the full grade. But yeah, just communicate. I have some friends who are parents as well, and I told them the same thing, and it has worked for them too. So you'll be good, But like, we would love to see you here, because you would do great, and they need to hear your perspective as well. So
Well,
Thank you, Xavier.
and to that point,
Yeah.
my point about adjunct professors, like not to talk smack on the other professors, but adjunct professors are working people, and they understand that
That's a good point,
deadlines
Sadie.
are arbitrary, and that it's true. I'm going to stand by that. And that assignments shouldn't be like insanely long and insanely redundant. Like, these people are efficient. They want you to be efficient too. And so, yeah, just communicate with them like real people, and they'll be so accommodating with you. I promise.
All right, next question, and I will go over here. Yes. And your name is?
My name is Landa Baguma. I'm a student at Syracuse University, studying international relations and political science. First of all, I want to say thank you, especially Ronaldo, for your advice about how you're catering your schoolwork to like clients and trying to find like different solutions already. That's amazing. So thank you for that, and thank you, Sadie. But Xavier, I'm going back to that question. I'm sorry if I'm being redundant, but can you specifically talk about the alternatives that you took regarding to like not having a concentration on Africa as a regional concentration, because I'm also like focusing on Africa as a regional concentration for international security and diplomacy. Were there like specific classes that you have taken outside of SIPA or from like other colleges and stuff like that? Could you go into the specifics if that's okay?
Yeah. There's one course that I took at the business school. It's called Doing Business in Africa, which was pretty awesome. And what SEPA allows you to do is do like the cross-registration. So also can count towards like your graduation and credits, which is awesome. And then I think personally for me, with being a part of the SEPA Pan-African Network, you get to plan a whole Columbia conference that brings like, former presidents to the university and the African continent and different things like that. I think that's been very helpful. But in terms of like courses, other than SEPA has a few of those courses that I had to take a part of my requirement. One was like environment and political development in Africa, which was like a pretty good course as well, but there's still a lot of limitations that, the SEPA Pan-African Network was still like communicating with the dean about we want more representation for the African continent, as well as professors as well and students. So that's been a thing that we constantly grappling with and fighting for, but hopefully, if you decide to come to university, you can also fight for that as well, as long as your peers. So, yeah, I think that's the most I've done so far. And then,
Thank you, Xavier. Next question. Yes, I'll take you. I know you had your hand up. Yes, with the glasses. And your name is?
My name is Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Thank you. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. My question is for Xavier. So kind of related to the previous question.
We'll just go home.
they can also
I'll let Xavier say.
they can also
Thank you, guys.
But I would like to hear your comments as well if you guys have any. But you mentioned how not having African professors or having courses that relate particularly to Africa has been a concern of yours. Do you feel that the faculty administration have been receptive to that? Have you seen any changes they've made? And then to your own experiences, Sadie and Ronaldo, have you had experiences similar where you've had an issue with the faculty or the program, you've brought it up to the administration, have they been receptive, have they made changes?
So for me, what I'm experiencing right now, it seems like been going on for the past several years. So it seems like every year it's kind of just getting pushed on, the issues getting pushed on. So there's support, especially from, academic student affairs office, but and some faculty as well. But I don't know, there's a lot of bureaucracy, and then I don't know what goes along with it, but I don't know why we always continue to say no. But the goal is continuing to fight for it and then doing it as a whole community, because numbers do matter. So like, don't let anyone kind of like dim your voice, no matter what issue it is. Continue to fight for it, and because we need to have more courses on this. This is an international program. We need to hear all international perspectives, no matter what country, what region you are from. So I think it's very important just to continue to fight for that, because if they see the demand, they're gonna give you the supply. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the thing I've been dealing with. But you're gonna have that issue on a lot of matters as well, where there's not gonna be a lot of support on something, whether like the majority of the student body agrees with it, but then the administration has another way they want to go about things. And that's constantly the issues we going on throughout our semesters right now. But you just gotta keep going and keep fighting and never kind of like lose that passion.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Thank
if
you,
y'all-
Xavier. And I think this. Oh, you want to answer?
I would
Ronaldo?
just add something on that. I think sometimes it's also a matter of putting your voice out there. Sometimes you assume the administration and our leaders, they know everything. Until you raise your hand and you talk, you make sure that they actually know. So
Great advice.
I think you should keep like stepping up and putting like, hey, we should have a professor from Africa and black. Why we don't have that? So so they when they like hiring new professors, they put that in mind again, because I mean they're just like us, they're like working and having their wages and doing their best. If you assume that, I think we can also find true dialogue with everyone.
Thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you, panel. Next question. I'm going to take in the back, my gentleman, you have glasses as well. I promise I'm not just picking all the people with glasses because I have glasses, but it's just a good indicator.
No bias.
All right. Thank you for the opportunities. My name is Brisco. I am from Indonesia, but I'm currently living in DC. I'm working in Indonesia Embassy at the moment. So this question is actually for Ronaldo, because I'm currently admitted as an MPA in Development Practice. So I would like to know your experiences as a DP student here at SIPA, because if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the most spatial, unique way of learning at DP and at SIPA itself is STEAM learning, right? When you focuses on the qualitative and quantitative methodologies, and also about the innovative technology, and also the data driven. But as we know together, when we working with people, especially in developing country or underdeveloped society, we might facing a lot of people with their local wisdom or traditional belief, which is unfounded or illogic belief. And how do you actually integrate your knowledge that is of course credible with theoretical foundations at SIPA to engage with those society? So how do you learn those kind of challenges at SIPA? Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
$1 million question. So I'm not gonna extend on some specifics because we're gonna have other sessions on the DP program, but just gonna pass through that. For those who doesn't know, DP is one of or the smallest cohort at SIPA, but it doesn't seem like, because you're like a cult. You're like always together, and I think we have in our curriculum the sense that of course we have your STEM. But we are recently STEM in terms of we don't need to take certain classes to become STEM, so that's one thing. But also, we try to merge quant with quali. At the same time, we need to base on evidence. You want to be and have a human-centered design approach. So if you're implementing something, you should ask the people first. And I think that's one of the lessons from when they created DP with the Millennial Villages, which they implemented a lot of different programs, and they're like, hey, here's your crop of corn. and you won't have hunger anymore. And people like, nice, I want clean water. So this level of like, okay, now we need to create professionals that look for this. And MPA in development practice had this on its core of like, hey, maybe, okay, you've designed a really good program, now you need to test and ask the people. So I think that's the way. I don't have the right answer, but it's more the approach that we have, less than like perfect answers.
Thank you, Ronaldo. Next question. Yes, right in the back here, you have a gray jacket on, collar. Right here? Yes, yeah.
Shira.
You see it? And your name is?
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Nice
I
to
was
meet you, Rachel.
wondering, nice to meet y'all, what your career prospects are like post-graduation, and then maybe some of your friends as well.
And then I'll take this question. Let's start with Sadie.
Yeah.
Oh, great. What? I don't want to lie to you guys. I'm majoring in human rights, and human rights are kind of on the chopping block right now. So right now I work at an art gallery, and I'm very lucky to have a job. So right now I'm kind of going to stay with that and continue trying to find the intersection of art and human rights until I can kind of see the horizon again, because I don't quite know what the opportunities for human rights careers are at this very moment. I think no one does. And I mean, there's a lot of hiring freezes, there's a lot of layoffs. So, you know, people are kind of approaching with caution. I know this is not encouraging, but you're going to graduate in 2 years, and it's not going to be a problem for you. So yeah, I'm just kind of, I would love to work for an NGO. I would love to advocate for human rights. I'm very lucky that I have a lot of professors that are connected in this way, and I'm definitely going to stay in touch with them. But for right now, I'm kind of going to stay where I am and see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadie. And then we'll take a new question, another question, just for the sake of time. Yes, sir, here. Yes.
Thank you.
And your name is?
Vivek. Vivek
Nice to
here.
meet you.
I'm from Singapore. I'm currently in undergrad, final year undergrad in the UK. So I guess it's relevant for both Sadie and Xavier. When it comes to not really having like proper work experience, getting into SEPA straight out of undergrad, is it possible? Like, are you really significantly disadvantaged, or in the internship and hiring process? Because I think, given that you kind of have to secure that summer after, like, between your first and second year, and a lot of those timelines for those like pre-professional routes open up before you even join SEPA, seems like you got to know what you're in for. So yeah, I'd love to hear a perspective there.
And then we could start with Xavier.
Okay. I'll say number one, you were chosen for a reason. You got skills and abilities that some other people might not have that you need to tap into, and kind of just always hone in on that. Because sometimes it might get difficult, but you're not supposed to know everything. You come to graduate school to learn more. So, and not everyone in class knows what they're talking about. Like, there's literally other students who will just blabber on, and then the professor nods their heads like, yeah. But, at the end of the day, you're here to learn.
Can we vote him class president?
Unfortunately, he's graduated. And fortunately, he's graduated.
I just think, number one, just try to do your work to your best ability. Number two, you said something about the internship experience. I think the first thing when you come into SEPA is just go to the career center and kind of just like lay out what are your thoughts, like what are you thinking about. You gotta know what you want to do this summertime or what you want to do after SEPA, but just talk about a bunch of things, and there's literally people here to kind of like help you kind of narrow things down to kind of figure out your path. And you're gonna constantly be doing that throughout the whole graduate school experience, whether it's academically or professionally. And I think that's kind of been the biggest thing. And then leaning on your friends and your community. I wouldn't be here without them. Like, this experience has been so amazing just because of the people I've been around and I've been able to make friendships with. So that's been very helpful too. And you're not the only one who's in your position too. I would say that.
Thank you, Xavier. And this concludes our Q&A portion. Could we please give our panel a round of applause, please? So we really hope, I'm sure we could stay here all day and talk about many, many things. I'm sure there's some things that many of you wanted to ask that did not get answered. Please, please, please reach out to us, connect with us. Also, many of us will be at the expo as well from 4 to 6, so feel free to pull us aside, ask questions. We're here. And so our hope is that you will come in the fall. We hope that this was as informative as possible, and I hope to see you all again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.